Welcome back to Crypto for Freedom, where we talk about gaining financial freedom through the cryptocurrency markets. Today, we're talking about Dogecoin and Bitcoin, like usual, guys on the channel. So, thanks for coming back to the channel. Let's jump into the charts. All right, so Bitcoin, it's been making these descending wedges throughout its history in every single one of its bear markets. After it reaches a peak, Bitcoin makes a descending wedge, and I'm just going to draw these out right here. And I do believe that Bitcoin is doing something very similar right now, forming a descending wedge. Now, we still haven't, for Bitcoin, come up to see set a lower high yet. So, zooming in on the 3-day chart, you can see that Bitcoin is actually forming a bull flag right now, in my opinion. It's come down from the peak, entered into this flag, and it's at the top of the flag right now. So I would just be very careful right now, guys. I wouldn't be FOMOing back into the market, thinking that we could be seeing higher prices unless we're able to, break out from this flag here and actually come back and retest it and come up. And if we're able to break out above maybe 115 right here and come back up to these highs, we still have to, break out above that and see a new all-time high to avoid going into the bear market here. I think it's very likely, though, that the bull run is over and we are going to end up seeing this, descending wedge here that we've seen every time for Bitcoin, and we could be seeing a lot lower prices. Now, if we do come up and find a lower high, I've noticed that in these wedges that Bitcoin likes to kind of ride the top until it falls to the bottom. Rides the top until it falls to the bottom. Rides the top until it falls to the bottom. So I think we could be just, riding the top of this line for a while until we just fall to the bottom. And I think that, this resistance to support flip from back over here in 2024, that could be where we find some sort of support that was flipped from resistance before ultimately finding a bottom over here in October at this green box. Okay, and that's where you're going to want to buy, sell everything you own, and buy Bitcoin. Now, that does kind of make sense, especially because Bitcoin is forming a head and shoulders here on the weekly chart, something like this. And, the price target for that is from the high to the neckline. Extrapolate that out, and that does make sense that we're going to be seeing a lot lower Bitcoin here in the coming months. Now, it does take a while for these patterns to play out. You can see that over in, let me get my date range tool, back in after the last peak in January of 2022, once we kind of entered into this range, we stayed in this range for 138 days to kind of come up and find the back test, and it was more like 147 days. So, right now we're only 3 weeks into this since we found our low. So, it could end up taking some time to play out this pattern, maybe another 40 days to get to reach a new high. So we could see or lower high, so we could see the price continue to pump here for, a little while to come up and set a lower high before ultimately we do fulfill the right shoulder within 147 days. And that's when we could see this big drop for Bitcoin, So what does that mean for Dogecoin? Jumping over to the Dogecoin chart, Dogecoin is still, battling with this 15-cent level. That's bull market and bear market support resistance flip. And you can see that with this horizontal line I'm going to draw here on the chart. It's interacted with it many times in the past. Here, 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 so on and so forth. You kind of get the gist that like this 15-cent level is a very critical level for Dogecoin, and right now we're sitting right at that 15-cent level. Trying to actually we broke through it, and looks like we're coming, back up to retest it as resistance. So Dogecoin really needs to have a nice push here to come back up and maybe retest this as support one more time to kind of create its own lower high. So, we could be seeing some bullish price action here in the market coming up here pretty soon. Flipping over to the daily chart, the RSI is starting to spike up a little bit and found some lower highs here. And, we actually are seeing a little head and shoulders here as well. So this could pump up a little bit there. And flipping back to the weekly chart, Dogecoin is in this, what is this pattern called again? It's a broadening wedge. That's what it is. It's a broadening wedge. So Dogecoin is actually making this broadening wedge here on the weekly chart. And it's a parallel broadening wedge here, and when it enters from the upside, that's a bearish pattern. So I think we should end up filling this wick here and coming back down lower to the bottom of this broadening wedge. And I think that's very likely because Dogecoin, once it finds a peak for the market, and it ends up going into 1127-day downtrend before it actually breaks out of the market. And, it happened multiple times over here. So are we going to be seeing another, 1127-day downtrend for Dogecoin to stay in this channel? I think it's very possible and very likely. That's why you guys have to have multiple streams of income coming in, have an emergency fund, be debt free. That way you can protect your assets and be able to hodl through these, through these times where the market is dipping, these 1 year bear markets, and, be accumulating over time. That way you can win in crypto. And, I do think that, we are seeing a bear market here for Dogecoin and Bitcoin. And, flipping over to the Bitcoin versus gold chart, you can see that gold actually has, Bitcoin actually has lost a good amount of value versus gold, 45% over the last year. But I think, as Bitcoin goes into a downtrend, it's going to actually hold up better than gold is. And we might see, it kind of doing its own head and shoulders here as Bitcoin gears up for the next bull run in 2027 to kind of fill out this ascending triangle here, making flat tops and ascending bottom. That's a bullish pattern here, guys. And I think Bitcoin could be breaking out against gold here in the next few years, even though it's been underperforming and seeing a nice fatty gain. Also, Ethereum is also making a very similar pattern on the chart to this chart, making an ascending triangle. Jumping over to the Ethereum chart, you can see how many times it's been touching this top line and making an ascending bottom line, which is a bullish pattern, which, if you guys are in Ethereum for the long term, then, when we do come back down to this line eventually, just make sure to buy the dip, load up with that, have that big chunk of money on the sidelines and get ready for, the next bull run in 2028, 2029. I think that's when we could be seeing parabolic gains for Ethereum, maybe even coming up all the way up to $18,000 for one Ethereum. So, what could that do for Doge? Because Doge usually follows Ethereum. That could be really, really special for Doge. At that same time, if we overlay Doge on the Ethereum chart, that you can see that, whenever Ethereum runs, Dogecoin also likes to run. And, hold on, I messed this up. Let me go back. But yeah, anytime that Ethereum runs, Dogecoin also likes to run at the same time. So, if we do end up seeing an $18,000, Ethereum, could we end up seeing, a massive run for Dogecoin as well? It's very likely and very possible. And if I could find the right chart here, that'd be great. What is it? The Binance one? Bybit? This one? Anyways, you can see that this is the wrong chart. Dang it, guys. Well, if I can find this real quick, I don't want to waste too much of your time, but if I could find this chart real quick, I just want to show you what I'm talking about. Kraken, Coinbase. Let's see this one. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, when Ethereum runs, shortly after Ethereum runs, Dogecoin likes to pump up as well. And you can see here, Ethereum was running here, Dogecoin pumped up. So, if Ethereum chills out, Dogecoin is going to chill out and then end up running. And up here in 2028, 2029, we could be seeing massive gains for Dogecoin as well. So you guys got to be in it for the long term, you guys. Make sure to have that emergency fund. That way you can protect your assets. If you guys like the video, make sure to smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and come back to the video on my next videos. And make sure you check out all my links below in the description for my playlist to watch all my other videos. Remember that none of this is financial advice. I'm just a random guy on YouTube, and you should be always doing your own research. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.